Hello, travel besties, and welcome back to another episode of Bon Voyage Besties, the podcast where we talk about all things travel, friendship, and building a life you love around both of those things. And today we're super excited to be joined by Laura, the travel blogger and content creator behind Laura Dolci Travels. As a third culture kid who has called three different countries home, Laura brings a unique perspective to travel that goes far beyond the typical tourist experience, which Rosa and I absolutely love. And in this episode, we're headed to a super special city, one that I visited in the past and have to go back and visit again. And that is Granada, Spain, which is a city known for the Alhambra, but it's so much more than that, even though the Alhambra is beautiful and special, and we'll certainly talk about it. It also has flamenco culture and an incredible food scene. If you like tapas, believe me, Granada is the city for you. And we're going to also dive deeper into local neighborhoods, traditions, and other really cool hidden gems in this episode. And we're also going to learn why Granada should be a lot more than just a day trip from Seville. So, with a passion for responsible tourism and deeper cultural connection, Laura also experiences Granada beyond the surface level, and she's going to share those tips with us today as well. So, whether you're planning a trip to southern Spain or simply dreaming about visiting Granada, like I am right now, hoping that I go back one day soon, this episode is for you. So, Laura, welcome to the show. We're so happy.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice intro, and I'm so excited to be here. I could not keep myself from smiling. I was like, I'm just so excited to fangirl about Granada because it's such a spectacular city and you hit everything on the nail. Is that the saying? I'm not good with saying.
It's all good, hitting the nail on the head. I'm so excited about the fangirl about Granada too, because I went, it was over my spring break. I teach high school here in the States. So it was in April, which weather wise was perfect. I went with two friends. We went to the Alhambra, spent an entire day there, but then we also had some time to walk around and explore and have fun. So let's get the ball rolling. What first drew you to Granada and what makes it stand out from other cities in Spain?
Yeah, so my boyfriend is Spanish. So the first time I went to Spain, we had taken a trip to Granada. He's from Andalusia. And then his parents moved to Granada, and it kind of started the whole me moving in with him and his parents. So that's kind of what drew me to Granada was family, my boyfriend. And what makes it stand out from other cities in Spain. I haven't seen too much of the north, but for what I've seen around Andalusia, Madrid and all, it's a city with so much history. It was the last city to be reconquered by the Catholic monarchs. So it has a very strong blend of the Moorish culture and the Catholic. So you obviously see the beautiful Alhambra, which is one of the most mind-blowing places to visit. And yeah, just it's such a vibrant city. It's nice and compact. So wherever you go, you're always seeing beautiful things. It's a tiny city, but it's full of so much to enjoy.
Yeah, I remember that's something my friends and I really like, that it was small and compact. We took the train over from Seville and it was nice to be able to just walk around everywhere. And like you said, the vibe is different. Something that immediately stood out for me is that view of the Alhambra with the mountains surrounding the city. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a fantasy novel of some sort. And I will say the Alhambra, it's one of the few buildings that has brought me to tears. Like, I don't really recall another building being so beautiful. And even though we were lucky enough to spend the whole day there walking around, I really want to go back and see it again.
I visited 6 times. I cannot
Oh
get
my God, that's awesome.
I just cannot get enough of the Alhambra.
So beautiful. It's so
It
beautiful. And I'm
is.
so glad that we had an entire day for it, because I know that
Yeah,
there's some day trips that go there where maybe you're just there for like an hour or two and it's not nearly enough.
exactly.
Like, you need a day.
You really do. And that's something I like about the Alhambra is like if you're someone with a specific itinerary, an average visit can be 3 hours, but it's really nice that you can just like stay in there as long as you want. Like there's no time where they kick you out until it's the end of day. So that's really nice. You were able to soak it all in because even with 6 visits, I still feel like I haven't seen enough of it because there's just so many like intricate details in the architecture and the gardens, the history. It's
Yeah, I
just so
remember the
much.
gardens just blowing my mind. So, for someone who's visiting Granada for the very first time, how would you describe the city's overall vibe and culture to them before their visit?
Yeah, I think like one word I actually always use is vibrant. Like the city just kind of is like a light for different reasons. It's super vibrant in the culture. The people are really kind, always full of life. There's always something to celebrate. The architecture, not only are the like buildings bright in colors, but they're always so spotless. Like it's just such a clean city. So it's vibrant in all the senses, from the culture, from the people, from how well they take care of the city. So yeah, it's very radiant, blinding at times, actually.
I feel there is always like somewhere else to look. And then something I noticed too on
Yeah.
my trip there, it was not too far from the cathedral. There was an artists market going on with all these local artists set
Yeah,
up. And I bought multiple gifts there for my
I see.
family because I love supporting local artists. And I really felt the vibrancy there. I love a city that really embraces the arts and supports their local artists. And that was just the impression I got just from that brief morning walking around the square at the market.
It's spot on. They don't have the markets throughout the entire year, but they will pop up very frequently in different parts of the city. And so that's always really, really wonderful because you see, all the different arts, all the different crafts. I'm like you, I love to support local artists. I also think it's like the best souvenir you can get yourself. And yeah, they actually just popped up yesterday near the Fuente de las Batallas, Corte Inglés area. They were all lined up. And so it's nice because even as a local, you don't necessarily know when they're popping up, but they'll be popping up enough where you get to enjoy it many times.
And it's such a nice surprise too, just walking around and stumbling across the market. And that's something that I also really love about travel. I'm trying to, and I've said this on the show a few times, move away from my type A personality where I have every little thing scheduled in an itinerary and just embracing those moments where I may like find a market and then taking the time to walk around and buy a souvenir. Cause I really do think something from a local artist is the best thing that you can bring home because you're supporting someone who's creative and you won't be able to find it anywhere else.
Exactly. You're getting something that's actually unique to the city and unique to your travel. Yeah. And it's even, supporting the whole artisan culture of it so that, we keep artisans in our world of, like consumption and stuff.
Yeah, tell me about it. So, speaking of uniqueness, because Granada is certainly unique compared to the rest of Spain, but it's in Andalusia, which is the south of Spain. I feel like there's just so much to see and do. I really want to go back. So, what makes it stand out within Andalusia itself?
Yeah. Well, something I kind of mentioned earlier, there's a couple of things. One is just how much of a blend there is with the Moorish culture and all those influences. Because Sevilla and Cordoba, for example, they were reconquered way earlier on than Granada. So those influences are still there, but they're more blended in, they're less noticeable. And then another thing about Granada is it's 1 hour away from the mountains and from the sea. So even just like that geographical area that it's in, it makes it very unique because you can literally, you could go skiing one day and go to the beach the day after. And again, because of its size, I mean, the city center is quite small. It makes it very easy to kind of see everything that it has to offer if you stay a couple of days, 3 days. And because everything is compact, you just have beauty every single second. Like Sevilla is a beautiful city, but because it is so spread out, you spend so much time going from one place to the other, and not all the streets are as beautiful as certain attractions. And in Granada, it's just beauty, like every step you take.
It is true. It's like there's something pretty on every corner, and that's what
Yeah.
I loved about it. Oh my gosh, I want to go back so badly. So, before we like pivot to some lesser known gems, some neighborhoods, obviously we have to talk more about the Alhambra because that is really what draws people to Granada. It's without a doubt the biggest attraction. I know being there over my spring break, I booked those tickets so far in advance to make sure that we had the 3 tickets that we could walk right in, that there were no issues because it was a must see. So, what should travelers know before planning their trip to the Alhambra? Because I do think it involved a bit more planning than, say, going to a cathedral or something.
Yeah, much more planning than a cathedral for sure. I have so many tips for the Alhambra, but it's hard to pick like the most important ones. But I think the 3 most urgent, I guess, to share would be book your tickets to the Alhambra as soon as you know you're going to Spain, because the Alhambra kind of competes, if I recall correctly, with the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona as the most visited monument in all of Spain. It's like very close to the Sagrada Familia. And so the general tickets, which include the Nasrid palaces, those sell out like a month in advance, especially if you want a specific time slot, because the last thing you want is to visit the Alhambra in the midday with the burning sun, because it's an outdoor activity. So definitely book a month in advance for the regular tickets. Dress comfortably, but cute, because you'll take a lot of pictures. But you'll also be walking a 3-hour minimum, like all around gardens, stairs, palaces. And with that, have sun protection because it's mainly an outdoor activity. And then you have to like quadruple check that you bring the correct ID that you use to buy your tickets, because what's interesting is at the first entrance, they look at both your ticket and the passport or whatever form of ID you use, but then they move on to only using your ID. Like they only ask you for your passport. So if you forget it, you have a timed entry for the Nasrid palaces, which are the highlight of the Alhambra. So if you miss your timed entry for that, you'll need to plan another trip to Granada for them. So those would be like the 3 most important tips.
Yeah, I absolutely
It's a
agree
lot.
because with our own trip, I like triple, quadruple check that I had my passport with me because I
Yeah,
had read that you need the document that you booked your ticket with. And for me,
exactly.
that was my passport. So I checked multiple times to have it. I know some other attractions, as long as you have your ticket, it's okay, not at the Alhambra. So I just like really made sure that that passport was with me because that would be a shame to forget. And then the palaces, we went there first for the timed entry. So the Alhambra, it's such a big complex. So we're like, before we do anything else, let's just go. So we're in line for our timed entry and not miss that, since that is the highlight. And I think it was the only section that was timed as well. So we really made it a priority to go there first, make sure that we like saw it. And then we kind of spent the rest of the day leisurely walking around and enjoying the rest of the area.
Yeah, exactly. It is the only timed entry.
Yeah. So, with the Alhambra, out of curiosity, do you recommend taking a tour or just like going individually?
It's one of those things where I'm always telling myself, Laura, book a guided tour so you can finally learn more. It's one of those things where I know better and I should get a guided tour and learn more, but it's just so enjoyable to just walk around and, be at your own pace, because, the Alhambra, it does have a lot of guided tours throughout the day. So it can also get intense, like following a group of, I don't know, 10 to 20 people and being at their pace. So it's one of those things where I think you really need to think about what your priorities are and what you want to experience. Because I think going as an individual by yourself, no guide. You can also opt for an audio guide. You can read more. It offers a different experience. Like it offers you you can dive deeper visually and take it all in because you're not on someone else's pace, but you do miss out on like any important details that a professional guide would share. So it's on my bucket list. I've visited 6 times. The 7th time should be with a guided tour. So it's up to personal taste for sure, like how you like to experience things, but definitely recommend reading about the history before visiting. That way you can at least like understand the kind of wonder that you're walking through.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do think now that I've been to the Alhambra once, it was really nice going around individually because before that, when we were in Seville, we got audio guides for everything. But my friend and I, for whatever reason, we were just like not having it and like putting down the audio guide and getting distracted. And then we were just like, why did we waste spending, I think it was like €8 for this if we're just not going to listen to it? So we decided with the Alhambra, look, we're just going to walk around. We're not going to make that same mistake twice. Although I do think I would like to learn more of the history about it. So if I went back, a guided tour would be fun, but I would like purposely picked one, like capped it like 8 or 10 people. I don't think I would like to be herded around with like 30 people. I would be like, I'm over this.
Exactly. Like I would have to find like the smallest group option or just bring a group of friends and we split a private tour because being in a group of 20, 30 people, I cannot do that.
Yeah, and that's another good idea if you're going with a group. Like by the time you split the cost of a private tour, it could be really economically feasible. And then it's a more enjoyable experience. Like you can ask questions because you're a smaller group. Maybe you could like walk to areas that normally like not everyone would be able to fit. So that's a really good idea as well. So as someone who's been to the Alhambra 6 times, I'm so jealous. What parts of the Alhambra still make the biggest impression on you when you go and visit?
The Nasrid palaces. It's, I mean, like you said, it's that kind of beauty that would bring someone to tears. Like, I remember the first time I visited, it was in 2020. And I always joke, because I'm from Italy originally, I always say they're going to take my citizenship away, my passport away.
Like, how dare you?
Well, because this is like, it's a strong statement, but when I first saw the Alhambra, I was like, how? I know why, but like, how is the Colosseum a wonder of the world and the Alhambra isn't? Like, I know just how historic and important the Colosseum is, but when you see the intricacy of Islamic architecture within the Nasrid palaces, and all throughout the Alhambra, architecturally, it's just like, how is the Colosseum a wonder and this one isn't? So I call it the 8th unofficial wonder.
Yes, it is. We're gonna add it. We're gonna add it.
Right?
Bon Voyage Besties podcast declares it, so it's gonna be true.
Exactly. Well, we'll start a petition.
Yes, we need to.
So the Nasrid Palaces is just always mind-blowing, and then the gardens are stunning. The Generalife I visited in all the different seasons, and it's so cool because you'll see so many pomegranate trees, persimmon trees, and birds eating free persimmons, throughout the winter, and just all the cypress trees. It's just so spectacular. That's why I visited 6 times and plan to visit more.
Yeah, those gardens are beautiful. And I have a couple like videos where I'm just like recording the pools with the fountains going, with like the trees and like the skyline. And I'll sometimes just rewatch them because they're soothing. Like they're like 7-second videos, but I'm like, this is so relaxing and beautiful.
It really is. It's like heaven on earth almost, like those gardens. It's just so relaxing, peaceful, and also the views that you get. Because you walk so long to get to the Generalife Gardens, you then see the views over Granada and the Alcazaba Fortress and the Nasrid Palaces. Like, it's cool because you just get the view of the whole complex.
That's really awesome. And I love how you've gone all 4 seasons too, and you can kind of see how it changes. I'm sure like some of my listeners would think I have a death wish with this, but the last time I went, it was over my spring break and I went in April. And as a teacher, I have like the entirety of summer off. So I'm like, should I go back in the summer in the early morning and risk melting into a puddle of goo? I do think the Alhambra would be worth it though.
So this is one of those things that I always kind of go back and forth with, because Granada in the summertime we're very lucky because it's dry heat thanks to the Sierra Nevada mountains. And it's one of those things where like I would generally strongly advise to not visit in the summertime, but there is the benefit where Granada is actually like a ghost town in July and August. So if you don't mind becoming more of a night owl, or you just don't mind sweating the whole day, then you can enjoy Granada to yourself without any crowds. Because April, for example, I don't know when you visited, but it's a beautiful season. But there are celebrations like the Semana Santa, the Holy Week. That's very intense. So yeah, the summer is kind of like, if you're willing, like you got to risk it for the biscuit. If you want
Yeah.
the Alhambra more to yourself and the city, then it's a great option. But
yeah, I think I would dig it because, like you said, it's a dry heat. And I actually, believe it or not, and it was April, got like heat exhaustion in Cordoba because I wasn't staying hydrated. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this is April. So I feel like in the summer, I would be all about that night owl life. Just stay out till like 11 midnight, enjoy it after dark. I think it could be fun and really relaxing, a good reset.
It is fun. And especially because that's kind of when all the locals will start to go out, like around 8, 9 p.m. when the sun is finally setting, the life is coming back to the city. So it gives you that mix of like, okay, I enjoy the city to myself with very few people, but then you have the option to experience a more local side of things as, you know, all the locals are coming out and there's more life. And the first time I visited Granada was in July, almost August, and I survived. So if you go for it, I support you. It's still worth it. Alhambra is always worth it.
The Alhambra is always worth it. I feel like Granada is always worth it. Moving beyond the Alhambra, we know Granada has a lot to offer visitors. So what are some other places that people should visit that are lesser known than the famous Alhambra, which we know is well known for a reason? Like, we love it, obviously.
Yeah. So I would say if you're visiting, so Granada, like we mentioned, it's a very small city and it has so much to see and enjoy. I think whether you're religious or not, the churches and the basilicas are really worth visiting. There's 2 places that are considered hidden gems. One is the Basilica de San Juan de Dios and the Monasterio de la Cartuja. The Monasterio de la Cartuja is like a 30-minute walk from the center. So you do have to walk a little farther, but it's some of the most spectacular, I believe it was Baroque architecture, like super, super intricate. And then the Basilica de San Juan de Dios is like you enter and you just see gold. It's a cool church. Yeah. I'm always going back and forth of like, is it a basilica? Is it a church, a cathedral? It should be
all good. It's all good.
No, wait. Basilica de San Juan de Dios. It's in the name. Apologies.
All good.
Basically, San Juan, the funny story about this is he was the saint who wanted to give all his riches away to take care of the sick, like to people who were sick and in poor health. And so this basilica is right next to the San Juan Hospital. Like they're right next to each other. And after he passed away, whoever was in charge decided to build the most lavish basilica, putting who knows how much money into it, because when you enter, it's all just gold.
Wow.
Like, it's so it's kind of ironic, that the saint, this man wanted to put his riches into healthcare. And then when he passed away, the people did the complete opposite to honor him. But it's a really, really cool place to visit. And they even have like those virtual glasses where you kind of feel like you're floating through the basilica.
Well, that's really cool.
You wouldn't expect this kind of technology inside a basilica, but it audio, like here's what you're seeing, and it's very cool.
That's really, really awesome. Definitely sounds like it's worth a visit for sure. I want to put those glasses on. That just seems
Yeah,
like fun.
it's a trippy experience. Yeah, those would be like two monuments that I think are really worth visiting outside of the Alhambra. And then like everyone knows of the cathedral in the center and the royal chapel where the Catholic monarchs are buried. Those are also very cool. But I do think the two places I mentioned are cooler, like at least architecture wise. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to go back because I don't think we
Yeah.
visited either one. We went to the cathedral, but I think I need a return trip now. I'm already like making a little list in my head of all the stuff that I missed or
Yeah.
that I want to see again.
No, you really should. Like we already said, Granada is always worth it. And it's always good to come back here.
Yeah, the gift that keeps on giving. So, in addition
Exactly.
to the attractions, Granada, I remember, had some really awesome neighborhoods as well to explore. So, what neighborhoods do you recommend visitors go to experience the soul of the city?
So neighborhood wise, I think the city center, it's very frequented by the locals. And so I think it's one area where you can still experience local side of things. It just depends where you go. Specific names don't come to mind, but there are certain areas just outside the very hot spot with like the cathedral and the Reyes Católicos street where you'll find different little squares and you'll find a lot of taverns where locals go to eat. So I think it's one of those things where it's like it's considered the center, but you just need to like let yourself walk freely and just kind of see where you stumble because there is so much like local life intertwined with the city center, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there's the Pedro Antonio. I wasn't sure of the name because I've made my mistakes with the name before. But yeah, Pedro Antonio. That's an area where a lot of students will go. A lot of locals will go for the city, no, for the nightlife. So that can be fun if you want to experience the nightlife and see some clubs, get a kebab at like 3 a.m., go play pool. Yeah, there's a lot of bars and fun nightlife over there. And it's always safe. Like that's one thing about Granada. It's a really, really safe city. So even nightlife wise, it's great. And then the Albaicín, it's very famous, but it's a breathtaking neighborhood and it's the oldest neighborhood of Granada. It's from the medieval and Moorish times. It's very uphill.
Yes, I remember us walking up to the Albaicín and it was stunning. I have so many beautiful
So
pictures. But
gorgeous.
my friend who was with me, she was like, I'm exhausted. I'm over this. Can we go back? Because it was so many hills. And luckily we went later in the day, so it was a bit cooler, but it was definitely worth just like wandering and checking out the architecture. It's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. It's all, as you know, all those whitewashed buildings, which is a tradition from the Moorish times, all cobblestones, which is so beautiful, but also like you want to watch your step. I have a whole strategy of like on which side of the pavement you need to walk because there are certain stones that are a lot more slippery than others. And so you'll see that people quickly understand that and they all walk on a very specific path. But the views are so worth it because when you get to the top of the Albaicín is where you have the Mirador de San Nicolas, which is Granada's most famous viewpoint over the Alhambra.
So pretty. That viewpoint is stunning.
It's everything, everything and beyond, especially in the winter or the early, even still now actually in the early spring, because you see the snowy Sierra Nevada with then like snowy mountains, Alhambra. It's just perfection.
Again, you feel like you're in a fantasy
You
novel of
really
some
do.
kind. It's unreal.
You really do. There's always people ready, there's always these street performers with their music. They're always singing Gypsy King, performing some flamenco music. So it's always full on vibes up there.
Yeah, we love the music as well. That was something that really stood out to us too with Granada is there always seemed to be street performers, musicians, and it just like really added a lot of life to the city. I adored it. I thought it was great.
Me too. There's always so much life all around Granada, and yeah, that's one of the many beautiful things about this city.
Yeah, and I remember when we were there too, there were like mini buses that would take you up to the top.
Yeah,
So to go up, we did do the bus to go up to the top, but then like walking down,
yeah.
we walked. So we did cheat a little bit.
As you should though, because it gets so steep. Like I've walked it so many times and I still get out of breath. So the bus is a great option.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we touched on this a little bit when you talked about the local taverns, the food in Granada. Oh my God, the tapas culture was absolutely phenomenal. And it was one of the few cities where the free tapas tradition was still a thing, where I feel like, at least my travels around Spain, Granada definitely by far had the most free tapas. So could you explain a bit how that works and some places where visitors could go for a more authentic experience?
Yeah. So with the tapas, Granada, as you mentioned it's known for its free tapa culture because you could go to, Madrid, for example, and at most they'll maybe give you some chips with your drink, not a real tapa. You would have to pay, and same throughout Andalusia. You don't necessarily get free tapas, but here in Granada, it's pretty much wherever you go, you will, which is really, really nice. If you go to a regular restaurant, you'll get one tapa with a drink you order. For the tapa culture here in Granada, you get a free small dish with every drink you order.
I love it. It was so fun.
Good. Like
Love it.
you could make it your lunch or your dinner. You say, I'm going out for tapas. You only order drinks and you get stuffed from all the small.
Yeah, I don't think we ordered dinner once. Like we got out for lunch, but then like dinner, we didn't pay anything. We just loaded up on tapas
Exactly.
and wine.
As one should. And no, I remember I had told my mom, like, yeah, this is the culture, the tapas culture. And she had ordered, I got her hooked on Tinto de Verano, which is a very beloved local drink. A lot of people outside of Spain know sangria, but locals drink more Tinto de Verano, which is red wine with either lemonade or casera. I'm not sure how to explain casera, but it's like gas water, like sparkling water with some kind of more bitter flavor. And so she just kept ordering these Tinto de Veranos and they just kept bringing her dishes. And she would be like, why? Why am I getting more dishes? So it's one of those things where like you really need to remember like every drink, it's a dish, which is
You
a
get
good
food.
thing, but be ready to eat.
Be ready to eat for sure. What are some of your favorite like tapas that you've gotten in Granada? I felt like there was just so much good food.
There's so much. My favorite tapa is the thing for me is I'm celiac. So I definitely have not been able to enjoy all of the tapas that people get because of gluten. But anytime there's a rice dish,
Rich tapas. They give you money. That would be amazing. My credit card would love that.
would be so nice.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, a new word. Rice dishes. Because yeah, there are so many variations of arroces, paella dishes. So whenever there's one of those like arroz negro, which is rice with squid ink and aioli, to die for, or more of the secreto ibérico, like rice with meat. It's those are always
So good.
my winners. There's a lot, but that's like, give me
So
rice.
good. I feel like if you go to a local tavern, you just can't go wrong. Like the food was
No,
phenomenal. And when I got back home to New Jersey, I really did miss the tapas. I was like, can I hop on a plane and go back?
yeah, it's just so different, especially in a tavern. You kind of feel like you're almost, at your grandma's house, like because a tavern, it's so cozy. It's so just dedicated to their food. And that's where you're always going to find locals. Like there's some chains, I think like Los Emanueles, and there's another name where they kind of market themselves as a tapas restaurant. But that's the thing, like tapas are a thing of like bars and taverns. You don't have a tapas restaurant, you know? So that's why I say to people, like, look for the word tavern or look for bars where there's people like standing up, super crowded. Bar Avila is a place that people really love here, like locals. It's always very packed. They have been able to accommodate me as a celiac, so that was really nice. But it is, yeah, Bar Avila is a place I highly recommend for
Awesome.
a local experience.
I'll
Yeah.
definitely check it out like when I'm back because we all know that I'm going to go back. And
Oh, yeah.
yes, it's happening. It's happening. And something else that I really liked about southern Spain in particular was flamenco. Like we saw a really good performance in Jerez that was like more of a local experience, a lot of fun. It was really good. My brother recommended it and he did a nice job. It was so funny because the other like patrons there were super sweet, but they were like, wow, they're like, how did you find this place? It's but they were really sweet. They were really sweet and we got a lot of hugs and like food, and it was awesome. It was a delightful experience. So what's the best way to experience flamenco in Granada without it being overly touristy? Because I know that there's some that are like purely a tourist experience.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I'm not too sure at the moment, touristy wise, but there are two very different experiences you can have in Granada because Granada flamenco is from Andalusia, and Sevilla and Granada are two of the most recognized cities as the home of flamenco. And the flamenco style of Granada was born in the Sacromonte caves. So that's like what we're to use. It's a kind of experience where you kind of go back to the roots. And so it's just people who have these caves where they'll perform flamenco, and they're beautiful shows. But if you're someone who's claustrophobic or doesn't like the air getting a bit dense,
Hot.
hot and humid, then you should definitely go to a tablao, which is more of like a stage scene. I haven't been to one that offers the restaurant portion, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend the tablao because that way you're in a comfortable seat. There's a stage and you're only focused on enjoying the flamenco show. Because imagine you're trying to cut up some food and you're missing the show.
Yes, yes.
So, and one place I really, really love for a really nice flamenco show is the Casa Ana, Ana's home. And these are professional flamenco artists who are always doing impromptu, is that the word? Like impromptu, improvising. And they rotate artists. Like there's famous artists from around the world that will also, come in and help perform. So that's a place I really recommend because again, it's only flamenco show. That's like what you're heavily focused on, even with like the lights and the stage and the seating. There's nothing else you're worried about like in the caves. The cave is really, really cool. But when I went, it did feel more like a touristy thing just because of like how crowded it was. Didn't seem like it was very regulated of like how many people could enter.
Oh my gosh, that would give me anxiety, I think.
Yeah, and it was nice. They gave you a drink to like help you cool down, but if you don't like tight crowded spaces, I would not recommend it. But it's still like full experience besides that.
Yeah, so it does sound like a really cool experience for sure. And what are some other like common mistakes that tourists make when visiting Granada? Maybe they book a show that's in a super tiny cave and they're not expecting the like crowdedness. Are there any other like tips for when tourists visit the city for what not to do?
Yeah, so well, one thing is here in Granada, you will often see these are harmless people, but you will see these women who walk around either by themselves or sometimes they're in little groups that then spread out. And they are these women that carry rosemary. And so I've caught so many tourists. I was one of them actually, like years
Aw.
ago, where this woman just appeared out of nowhere, grabbed my hand. I think she had handed me rosemary, but she started like reading my fortune and I wasn't sure how to leave. So I just let her talk. But I've seen a lot of other tourists like really try to engage with them as they were like handing them rosemary and stuff. So the mistake there is do not engage with these women. They are just going to give you a stick of rosemary, try to read your fortune, and then be like, okay, where's my money? I need to eat. You know, like they'll literally do the sign so that you know what they're trying to communicate. So yeah, that's not like a cultural thing of Granada. In because I've seen like the way some people would engage with it, it was like, oh, like this is a cultural thing that I'm engaging with. It's like, no, that's just a scam.
It's just a
not,
scam.
they
It's
just
just a
want your
scam.
money.
Embrace your inner New Yorker and just keep walking.
Exactly. Northern attitude.
Yes.
And what else? Well, yeah. Okay. At first I was like, what are some mistakes? And now they're all coming to me. So siesta is very real. That's usually like 2 to 5 p.m. where a lot of stores will close. And one thing that I still have not adjusted to is Sundays, everything is closed. Like most anything that's not touristy is closed except for like restaurants and cafes. So I guess the thing with that would be remind yourself of those time restrictions. That way you don't plan, for example, oh, I need groceries for, I don't know, I want snacks for my hotel. I'll buy them on Sunday. No, you can't do that.
Not
So
happening.
not happening.
Not happening.
Whole day. And so you just gotta plan around those times. And then I do think it can be hard if you're traveling for just very few short days, but trying to get on the locals rhythm of things, I think can really help you enjoy Granada to the fullest. Like everything starts an hour later here. We have lunch between 2 to 3 p.m. Dinner is at 9 to 10. There's siesta. So I think going with the flow of things will help you also avoid like touristy restaurants. Like you want to go to the restaurants that open earliest at 1 or 1:30 p.m. because you know you'll be in good hands. If it's at 11, if it's at
Forget
12, just try. You can get yourself a tapa to hold off the hunger, and then you go have a more authentic meal.
Yeah, that's really true. And it's definitely something that helped me in Granada as well. So again, I'm from New Jersey. I'm about an hour from New York City, and we have the tendency to be like kind of fast paced here for sure, to put it like delicately, nicely. And I had to like make sure that I slowed myself down in Granada, like even like the way I talk. I tried to like slow down a bit just because the pace is different. And I do feel like embracing that led to a more enjoyable stay for me too, because it gave me a bit of a chance to unwind and not be like so fixated on like the time and then like going to this place and then rushing to that place. I did really like the pace of life there.
It's really nice here. Just everyone is fairly relaxed compared to other parts of the world. Yeah, I lived in Boston for a good chunk of my life, so I know.
You get it.
How fast paced we are in the States.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just trying to think. It's a beautiful pace here, and it is nice that it kind of gives you those forced times. Like Sunday, again, having grown up half of my life in the US, like I'm so accustomed to everything being open at all times pretty much. So it's one of those things where I really appreciate the Spanish culture and the fact that they really do want to have everyone in the country to have Sunday off. Like Sunday is for family, friends, yourself, just not, any errands you might need to run. But it is nice because it's like that enforcement of like, okay, today you're slowing down, which I need to like train myself better to like fully soak in.
Yeah, I like that because, like, I know with me, I can always find something to do or needs to be done. And I do think having almost like a forced, hey, today's for family, friends, relaxing, like, it's healthy to do that
It
and take
is.
some time for yourself. And I do wish we had more of that here for sure.
Absolutely. I'm the same. Yeah, I might be a blogger and, and do my own stuff, but I still have very much that like corporate mentality that I'm trying to like unlearn. So here's to getting better at it.
Yeah, I think everyone just needs to visit like Granada, like go to Granada and you'll feel like so much better. So I know we like touched on this briefly before we started record. I think a lot of people just like day trip into Granada to see the Alhambra and that's it. And really it's a city that is worthy of more time in the itinerary. So how many days do you think people should spend in Granada if they truly want to experience it?
I think, well, as I told you earlier, I think it's really, really good that for your first visit, you went for 3 days. I think it's one of those things that kind of depends on how much time you have, like how much PTO and your vacations and stuff. So if you have more of a limit, I think 2 days has to be like the absolute like minimum because the first day it's going to be the Alhambra and then you're going to be physically dead. So, the other activities you'll enjoy, but not as much. So I think 3 days is really, really the sweet spot because not only do you have time to see everything that Granada has to offer, but it gives you the time to really take your time with everything. And on top of that, which we had mentioned before about like, you had said you're a type A and you were trying to find like ways to let go of the itinerary. With 3 days, you have that liberty of just like, you know what? These are the attractions I planned for, and the rest, I'm just gonna see where my feet take me. And I think that that's like one of the best ways to get to really experience the true essence of a city is to just like go without a plan and just make sure you're looking around yourself, soaking in, the architecture, the weather, how people behave. Like people watching is always really fun to do. So yeah, I think if you have some kind of restriction and a certain limit to your time in Granada, 2 to 3 days is the best. Three being like, the very best because it
Yeah,
gives you
ideal.
free time. Ideal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ideal amount of days for a first visit.
I love that. I love that. So speaking of like itinerary and to kind of inspire our listeners a bit more, if someone had 24 hours in Granada, just describe like the perfect day to us.
Yeah. So the perfect day in Granada obviously starts in the Alhambra. And the Alhambra is that place where, they don't kick you out. So you can stay as long as you want. But I would advise if you only have 24 hours, maybe spend 3 hours in the Alhambra, three and a half as the very first thing in the morning. Like 8:30 is when the Nasrid Palace is open. That way you do the Alhambra. Then you come down to the city center and you can walk around a little bit, get a very late breakfast or snack. And then you'll have lunch. Lunch is, I think lunch, you would want to have a bigger lunch because you just spent like 3 hours and a half walking around the Alhambra. So I would say keep the tapas for the evening as an evening experience. And then again, everything is so compact. There are so many beautiful little spots. So I would say just really enjoy the city center, the cathedral and the royal chapel are very cool to visit. And that would be like an hour and a half. But if you want to add something a little bit, add a little bit of spice, there's the Basilica de San Juan de Dios or the Monasterio de San Jerónimo. which are literally right next to each other. So those could be like a good alternative if you want to do something a little less popular than the cathedral and the royal chapel. Then, depending on the season, you definitely have to get a merienda, a snack, either at Los Italianos, which is the best gelato shop of Granada, or you go to Café Futbol, which is the oldest cafe of Granada, and that's where they have the best churros con chocolate, so hot chocolate.
Delicious.
The best. So, I mean, even in the summertime, if you want churros con chocolate, you can go for it. But maybe you want to keep it more as a breakfast if, have the following day available. And then ice cream to, cool yourself down because it's probably going to be hot. And then this would be like later afternoon. So it's great to go to the Albaicín once you've had your snack, you've had time to kind of relax. You go to the Albaicín and wander around and you head for the Mirador de San Nicolás. So you get those breathtaking views over the Alhambra and the Sierra Nevada mountains. Then you go back down. If you want, you could go to a teteria, which is like a tea experience, kind of brings you to Morocco. It feels like you're in Morocco in that part of the Calderia Nueva, I think it's called, the street. So if you want a tea, at the bottom of the Albaicín is where you can enjoy it. And by that time, I would say you will have done a lot. So it's more of just like, what are you in the mood for? Do you want to attend a flamenco show? Because that can be very cool. But besides that, just really wandering around Granada and taking it all in because it's a city is just so perfect throughout the whole day. And then go to a place like Bar Avila for tapas. And then if you're still hungry, you could go to a restaurant. If not, you just make, a dinner of tinto de verano, beer, and small dishes.
That sounds amazing. I'm ready. I'm sold. I'm like mentally transporting there and I'm totally ready to go. And I'm sure our listeners are too. So before we start wrapping things up, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Yeah.
Granada style? All right. Awesome. So let's do it. So market shopping or vintage shops?
By market, is it like store or like the little markets we talked about?
Little markets we talked about.
Okay, little markets then.
Yeah, I love those little markets. Oh my gosh. Like it was like one of the highlights of my trip to Spain. All right. Flamenco show or rooftop drinks?
Flamenco show.
Flamenco is fun. It was really fun.
So much fun. Like rooftop, there are some I haven't been to many, but there should be some like really beautiful sites. But flamenco is just such a captivating experience. It's very entrancing. So I would go flamenco.
All right. Albaicín or Sacramonte?
Albaicín is just so beautiful.
I loved it. Oh my gosh. Just like wandering. Perfection. And of course, our favorite, the Alhambra, sunrise or sunset?
I'm an early bird, so I'm going to say sunrise. And I have seen it in the winter months, like when the sun was starting to rise. And it was a really cool experience.
And like, you're probably one of the few people there. Like, not many people are up at that time.
Exactly. It's a cool experience. Like, there are people that are starting to come in because 8:30 is the first time slot. But in the winter time, it's definitely more quiet. And you just kind of see the Alhambra wake up, the buildings start to light up with the sunlight. Maybe there's some frost on the flowers.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I need to go. And our listeners need to go. So before, Laura, we close out, where can our listeners find you if they have more questions about planning their trip to Granada?
Absolutely. So I have my own blog. It's a website where I share all of my articles on Granada and other cities that I either visit a lot or have lived in. So definitely read those Granada guides that you can find on my website. And last year I started my YouTube adventure. So the website is lauradolcitravels.com. And the YouTube is Laura Dolci Travels. And you'll find some other video guides on YouTube. So I'm trying to give you, the best of both worlds, written and visual or both. And yeah, those are my main platforms where they can reach me.
Amazing. So we'll definitely include those links in the show notes. And we really appreciate you being on the show. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Bon Voyage Besties. So a huge thank you to Laura Dolci for joining us and sharing so many incredible insights to Granada, Spain, from the city's rich culture and history to the hidden gems, tapas, flamenco shows, and the slower approach, because Granada really does deserve more than just a day of your time. So we hope that this episode inspired you to add Granada to your travel bucket list. I know I need to go back in the near future. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, drop a review. And Rosa also just started a Substack for us, which is really cool. So please follow that as well. It really is our pride and joy. And if you have any questions about Granada, feel free to reach out to Laura. I'm sure she will help you plan the perfect vacation. So with that being said, Bon voyage, besties. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Rick.